Get ready for real and raw discussions as we dive into
navigating mixed-race relationships and motherhood,
to the intersections of our lives,
money, and so much more. So welcome back. We're here. I voted yesterday. It was my first time voting ever in the United States.
wow.
It was a pretty big deal. I feel really like it was significant for me because I've lived here for 20 years. 20 years is not nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I lived in New York and didn't. Well, for the first several years, you're going through the process of, getting your papers and all the things, whatever, right? And then I had a green card for many years. And with a green card, you can pretty much do everything except vote, right? You can work, you can
Right.
live, you can everything. And living in New York, I will be very honest, and I might sound very irresponsible, but I didn't feel compelled to become a U.S. citizen because I had all the rights except for to vote because it's a democratic state and people are pretty open-minded and there's a particular tolerance level that people have in New York that is different than the rest of the country. And having come from Canada, where of course there are conservatives and there's division, and of course all of that exists. But I think Canadians generally are a little bit more open-minded and generally are a little bit more tolerant just because the history in Canada is just very, very different. So I was just not used to, like, I will say, I not until moving to Texas did I become hyper aware of the political differences in the way that I was like, oh shit, this impacts me.
Yeah.
And that sounds, again, very irresponsible and very selfish. I realize that. But I immediately became a U.S. citizen, applied as soon as I moved to Texas. Within, I think, 4 months, I went through the whole naturalization process. So now I'm a dual citizen. But I'm so happy that it happened in time for this election because I think this election is very important.
Yeah.
So I voted yesterday.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah.
I'm glad you got that done. I did not. And now
It's not election day yet.
I know, but you had a good point. Tuesday is gonna be madness, so I don't know that I want to go then.
You have a whole week before that.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I was thinking it's next.
And it's open today. It's open Saturdays too,
Oh, good.
7 to 7. You have lots of time. And it literally took 10 minutes.
Okay.
It was walk in, I don't know, sign in. Like, I don't know, I've never voted before. Ty said they've changed it though. Like, it's not the same as it was last election. I don't know if that's because we're in Texas and he voted in New York last time. I don't know. But it took 10 minutes. It was easy. It wasn't busy. And it's done. And I feel good that it's done. So we had a big rally here in Houston yesterday for Kamala Harris, and Beyonce was at the rally. I think that might be the biggest celebrity who has come out in support of her. She's had lots of celebrities come out in support of her, but Beyonce is from Houston. And it was Beyonce and Kelly. They came out together. And, I think that's a pretty significant thing for Houston, right? Like, Beyonce being from here, she doesn't often come here and just hang out.
I haven't seen her much.
You haven't seen her out and about, just, hanging at the club, the
Hi,
restaurant.
girl, what's up?
So, it's interesting to see, what's happening in these final days leading up to the election. And very interesting for me, I'm sure for you too, to see a woman who represents our, sort of cultural reality in a position to take the presidency.
Yeah, so I have like so many feelings about this election, about our candidates, and they're like, we're not maybe wanting to get into the politics of it.
Yeah, I don't think this is really about the politics.
I do think that it's the first time that a woman is potentially like about to be elected. I'm very surprised that they haven't made a bigger deal of it. I feel like who was our last female?
Hillary Clinton.
It was such a big deal. Like, first woman president, like, it was like, I think there was a lot of rallying around the fact that she's a woman. This time, it's very different. And I feel like the media, the opposing side, has really depicted not only that is she a woman, but, oh, you're a broken woman because you don't have children, because you have a cat. Like, it's bizarre to me that the opposing side is actually attacking her womanhood from this. Like, it's the first time that we would have a female president, and like the degree of like attack on her as a woman has been really high.
You know what's interesting is the opposing side, right? Let's say Trump specifically. We know about the misogyny. I mean, there's no, we don't even have to get into that, right? But what's interesting is that Kamala is not enough of a woman, but she's also too much of a woman. So it's like no matter what she represents as a woman, it's not
The right.
it's not the right, yeah, it's not the right combination of things, right? Because if she was a woman with children and so on, they'd be like, oh, well, she might be emotional, or she doesn't have, she has to take care of her kids, or like what, I don't know. They would come up with some bullshit, right? And because she doesn't have children, it's like, well, she's not a real woman because she doesn't have children. Like, what in what world? In what world? And I think the focus also has changed because she's not a white woman on race rather than just her being a woman, right? So it's like, not only is she a woman, that almost becomes secondary to the fact that she is a mixed race woman. So it's not even she's a Black woman or she's just an Indian woman. She's an Asian woman. Like she's a mixed race woman, which for a lot of people is a confusing thing. I've been spending a lot of time kind of reading a lot of the comments and so on what people do say. Because like Janet Jackson, I think recently said something like she's not Black. Kamala Harris is not Black or something like that.
It keeps repeating in other media that she's not Black. And I'm not understanding that because I'm like, well, yes, she is. Like, her genetics say she's Black, so I don't understand what this is, right? And I've heard that rhetoric from a lot of people here that I think there's this, like, people feel like she's not Black enough. Oh, she doesn't represent me because she's she's different. And then I've also heard people say, oh, she's not really Black, she's Hindu.
She's Christian.
This is what it's the misinformation.
But it's so crazy because your religion does not.
I know. This is why I specifically said it that way. Because the people are like,
What's crazy is that they're wrong. Exactly. They're ignorant. They're wrong. And they don't even know exactly the right term for her experience, right? I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're a Black woman, what does a white billionaire man have to do with you? Like, how does that represent you? How does he, even an Obama, who is a Black man, how does a man represent you? Like we're always having to choose candidates who don't represent us fully, but it's not about their ethnicity or their religion that's the representation. It's their ideology, it's their views, it's their policies, it's what they're gonna do for the people who live in this country. Like, I just don't get.
I'm not understanding so much of this.
Me neither. And listen, I will say, from my opinion, I think Kamala Harris is bland as fuck. Like, I think she is bland. I don't think she comes off with she's not a dynamic person. She doesn't have a bunch of personality. She's incredibly intelligent. I think, she comes off as incredibly compassionate and kind. I think she's probably a nice person,
Mm.
but is she dynamic? Does she have a big personality? Does she make it look fun? No, she doesn't.
No, and I think that's part of it is, like, we want leaders that are charismatic, right? Obama was super charismatic,
He can't get more charismatic. Like, even Bill Clinton, super charismatic.
right? Like,
George Bush, on the other hand.
yeah. But, like, if we look in recent history, a lot of the leaders, especially ones that have stayed in office for 8 years, are k running on charisma. So much of it is, can I say the right thing that will land for you in the right way
Yep. At the right time.
at the right time? And that's going to sway people's opinion. And I don't particularly find Trump charismatic, but I can see why people think that he is,
Hmm.
right? Like I
Tell me. Tell me.
I don't think like he doesn't make sense. Okay.
No, and less over time. Like,
Words do not compute. If you actually listen to him, he says one thing and then says the exact opposite. And so someone was breaking down the psychology of this. They said what he's doing is brilliant because people hear what they want to hear. So they ignore the fact that he said he's going to start taxing small businesses. But then in the very next breath, if he says he supports business owners, then we good because I heard what I wanted to hear, which is he supports business owners. This is just an example. I'm not saying that he actually said that, but
you're like, I'm not saying he supports business owners. Interesting. I mean, I don't think he's honestly at this point intelligent enough to do that purposefully. So if that's what's working out in his favor, fantastic. I honestly don't think he has the mental capacity. Like, I don't think it. I think that strategist is like, oh shit, it's working. But I don't think his people are like, oh, this is our strategy and this is how you're gonna break. Like, he literally makes no sense to me. He literally cannot put a sentence together that has a beginning, a middle, and an end that is all on one topic. Like, there's not. There's. I am not. I've watched many of the one debate, but I've watched him debate. I've watched him. I even have spent some time watching. What he says at these rallies and so on, just out of curiosity, because as a human being, I want to understand what the appeal is.
yes, I'm with you. I do not understand. Except there there was a point recently that I was like questioning my opinion of our candidates. And I was like, do I have this all wrong? Like, I literally questioned it. For one, it was like a very fleeting moment.
But listen, you're supposed to ask questions. That's part of it. You should blindly support someone because they're the same race, ethnic background, right? Whatever the new Democrat, whatever. Yeah,
I vote for the person.
yeah, as you should.
So it was when Robert Kennedy Jr. joined forces with Trump. Do you hear about this?
Yeah, vaguely. I didn't pay too much attention.
Kennedy has been running on this campaign trail of make America healthy again. And a lot of his views are around health, which I obviously support.
Yes, and are paying attention to.
And he has been very vocal about the fact that pharmaceutical companies shouldn't be running our country, that red dye number 40 should be out of our food, right? Like things that will actually make a massive shift in our healthcare system. And we would maybe not be the sickest country in the world. So for me, like he's been the candidate that I was kind of following. And I was ready to vote for him, right? And then he all of a sudden, out of nowhere, well, not out of nowhere, he basically like tried to partner with the Democrats. They were like, "Who the fuck are you? Get the hell out of here. We're not about this vibe." And
Okay. I didn't know about that. Okay.
then Trump was like, come on over here. We'll take you. So he basically like sold out, right? Like for the sake of your mission, which is to make America healthy again, you partner with this idiot
Who is not about anything being healthy.
he's not about anything being healthy. He has appointed him some sort of chair of the health committee or whatever the fuck, like something. He's gotten appointed onto the Trump administration.
Okay. So he has a platform.
He basically has a platform and he's bringing millions of voters over to that side.
Really?
Yeah, like he's not nobody. Like he has a following, right? So,
And he has an agenda.
right. And he has an agenda that people are waking up to and are actually about. The problem that I'm struggling with is I don't think that he's going to stay, right? Like Trump is going to get into office and I guarantee 3 weeks later, sorry, you're out. See you later.
He did the first time around, right? Like that's literally what he did. He will get, and he has no problem doing that. Like he will get rid of you with a quickness.
Like how do you trust this person who has the track record that shows that he's done that to other people before? And you're partnering with the fucking devil. Like, I don't understand. But this is when that's what got me questioning, like, am I on the wrong side? And some things that have come out about this administration that are questionable, whether they are true or not, whether they, I don't know, like, I don't know, right? Like, I have no way to tell what's true.
That's the problem. It's like impossible to know what's true. You know, you hear a thing, then they counter it, but then you hear it again, and then you hear something different. Like it just very hard. Yeah, it's a hot mess. It's you know, politics. I think everywhere in the world, for the most part, except for maybe some European countries where they always have their shit together. Like honestly, if Europe was more racially diverse, I would move to Europe because they have their shit together. People are happy. They have good health care. They don't push like marriage and all these agendas. People just live happily ever after. Good food, clean food, and they live longer. It's a lot of good things there in some countries, not all of them. But here in the US, I think politics has become, a comedy show. It's become a sketch. It's become people don't take it seriously. It's hard to take it seriously because there's just so much, you know,
It's like nonsensical.
it's nonsensical and it's hard to follow.
It is. It is. And this year I did something different, which is I started following people on both sides of the equation because I really need somebody to explain this guy to me. Right. And like following the other side has been very eye opening because I'm like, oh, that's what they think about Kamala. Oh, that's what's happening. It's like, and like both sides is creating memes out of stupid shit that both people are saying. And like some of it, I'm like, did she really say that? Like, that's what's happening. Like, did she really? So it's interesting. I just feel like there is no way to tell who's telling the truth, who's gonna be a legitimate leader. There are things that I'm not super happy about with KH.
I agree. I agree. There's, again, I am not super heavy into politics and I will never pretend that I know all of the facts or the details of the things. I don't. But just from my overview of what I do consume and what I do read, um, yeah, it's difficult to really ascertain what her position is. But I have been listening to more as she has become once she had gotten, she started running for president and uh, kind of following her since then. And I feel like it's gotten clearer and clearer for me. And maybe it's gotten clearer for her too. I don't know, right? And so the way that I have to look at it is we only have two choices for the most part, right? What is the lesser of the two evils? It's not like either one is perfect. It's not like either one is ever going to give us everything that we want or everything that they say they're going to give us, or, like they never do, right? They never do. So, but the fact that she was a prosecutor, the fact that she is an attorney and she knows how to fight for the people and has spent her life doing that, to me, that says a lot. The position that she's held in defense of many people who are the underdogs, many people who have been traumatized and victimized and marginalized, to me, that makes sense for this country that needs someone who has some compassion. Trump does not come from that perspective at all. In fact, he shits on the people.
Yeah, he's racist, he's misogynistic, and
He is a criminal. He's like literally a criminal. He has been impeached. Like, I don't even understand how he's able to run for president. That part even boggles my mind. Like, how is he even allowed?
has he been
He hasn't been charged.
yeah. And he has a whole bunch of court people that he's
Appointed, yeah.
So is he ever going to get charged? That's
Wouldn't you, like, if you were just a regular person in the world, look at that scenario and say, what the fuck? Like, I don't want a president who can pull strings like this. I don't want a president who gets to cheat their way out of situations. I want someone who also is treated fairly, because that's what I'm looking for myself. Like, I just don't understand. I don't understand. And
well, here's an opposing viewpoint.
okay,
It's a little bit of hearsay. So I'll say that this is just like conversations that I've been part of, not official information in any way.
okay. I love the disclaimer.
I had been hanging out with some Israelis who are live in Israel, and this administration has not been good to many parts of the world. They say on the surface like, "Oh, we want peace," or "Yes, we want whatever justice," and da 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 da. Like the reality is that the wars that are happening, Ukraine and Russia, Israel, Palestine, the um, it's gotten escalated over the years. I have a really close friend now in Israel, and she was like messaging that there were bombs literally dropping outside of her house.
That is so freaking terrifying.
Yeah, it's like, can you get out of there? Like, what's happening? Um, so it is, I think where things become dicey is that there are other parts of the world that believe that Trump will do a better job than the Biden administration.
I don't,
And again, it's Biden administration,
it's not Harris administration. Yeah, and I think that that is honestly working against her on a level, because people just have lost their love for Joe Biden.
yeah. He was so great to begin with.
He never was, but once again, it was like him or the devil. Like, once again, right? It was kind of like, this, and people. I think people loved him when he was vice president, but that was largely because of Obama, right? And because Obama chose him, and they seemed to have a great relationship, and
Right.
people didn't.
And he was not older.
He wasn't so much old, so much old. He was. No, I'm getting so much old. Now he's old, but so is fucking Trump. Trump is old as shit. And I was watching something where there was a psychologist kind of evaluating his like decline of his mental health through his speech.
Trump.
Yeah, Trump's. And like showing clips from before where it was still incoherent, but less incoherent. And now this talking about, it's cognitive decline, right? Like, it's just natural. It's not because he's doing anything, it's because he's aging. And it's okay that it's happening, but we have to be able to also admit that it's happening, which I think is what they were saying was happening with Biden, right? It's like he was starting to not make a lot of sense and he's just aging out of. I think there should be a cap on.
I agree. I completely agree. Like, if you are retiree age,
Like, sit down. Sit the fuck down. And listen, that doesn't mean that you can't be part of something. It doesn't mean you can't have an opinion. It doesn't mean that you can't be on a board or an advisor or a consultant. Yeah, I truly think that, there's so many other ways that your voice can be heard, especially if you're a person in power, right? Of some level of power. It's like Bernie Sanders, right? Like, he stopped. Like, he's like, okay, I'm gonna run for a while and then I'm gonna stop. Like, I'm old.
yeah,
I will join forces with someone where I can have influence, I can be a consultant, I can be an advisor, I can have
right.
some
So many roles you can have besides being
the actual president. And I like the fact that we have had presidents who are a little bit younger and are a little bit more in tune with, what's going on in the world in terms of, because the truth is that older people are aging out, and yes, they need specific things and they need specific types of healthcare, and they need people who can understand their experience as well, but we also need this young generation to be able to fulfill on expectations for this country so this country can continue to grow and be something, because we are getting killed out.
yeah, it's a freaking shit show out here.
It is a shit show out here. And it's I don't yeah, it's strange. Like, I'm really excited that, you know, our president may be a Blindian woman. I think that's so exciting for our children to see and for us to even see as people who have chosen that for ourselves, right? It's such a small subset of the, population and of the world. Like, it's not something common. And I think that just her presence is making it more like, oh, this is a mix, a combination, groups of people that actually do come together, right? And I think that's really cool. I wish she was a cooler Blindian? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You know,
How old is she? How old do you think?
I think she's 60.
Okay, yeah, so she's not like crazy old.
No, I think she just turned 60.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. She's like very not like her jam is not vocalizing.
Is that what Scorpios are known to be very,
Introverted,
are they introverted?
introspective. You can still have different personalities, but
I have many Scorpio friends. Some of my closest friends are Scorpios. My daughter is a Scorpio. My dad is a Scorpio. Male Scorpios are a little bit different, I know, than female Scorpios. My ex-mother-in-law is a Scorpio. My current mother-in-law is a Scorpio. I have a lot of Scorpios in my life. I don't find them very introspective at all. In fact, I find that they I find that they lack self-awareness.
uh-huh.
On
It's the shadow. Yeah.
Could be, yeah.
It's like when any now we're getting into a completely different topic, but any like sign, if they're the exact opposite and that they haven't embraced their truth, so it moves through the shadow, right? So
Understand that. Yeah. Because it's always a choice. Like, you can access that part of yourself. Yes. Yeah. Because I'm trying to think of it. For love. And I have a lot of them. A lot of them. I think 7 will be because I'm her mother, she will be forced to be an introspective Scorpio, because that's just, but so it's good to know because that means there's something easily accessible there for her. But yeah, so Kamala Harris is, no, wait, 20th, she still might be a Libra. I think
Oh.
it changes on the 20.
Oh, 21st or 22nd.
So I will claim her all day as a fellow Libra, and I'm like, we're gonna have to find that out now. She would strike me more as a Libra than now we're being ridiculous, but she would strike me more as a Libra.
Know anything about Libras? Tell me about Libras.
Oh, let's see. Hold on. Kamala Harris's sign says this about her, according to astrologer.
What does it say?
All right, let's see. This is a article from Elle magazine. So she just right at the tail end of Libra. It changes on the 21st. Libras are well, I'm going to say this. Libras are generally indecisive, which is not good for a president. But I think I'm actually very decisive in some ways in my business and so on. I'm very decisive. In my personal life, I will research to death. I will do like that. And that's where my indecision comes in. So
You can like segment it to whatever part.
I do know a lot of Libras who do lean towards the more indecisive end, but also can in different areas of their lives. So Libras tend, I mean, the sign is a scale, right? So there is definitely a balance there. I think that there's a level of sort of knowing what you want and being able to find the way there. I think for her, she's an intellect, like she's obviously a very intellectual person. So I think she plays into that part of being a Libra. Like Libras are generally like we like to read, we like to consume information, we like to um evaluate before we're not super impulsive, we're not super spontaneous, we're a little bit more observant. So I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that
Look
for
at
her. And I can see how that could be really positive as a president.
Now we're getting into astrology. We're not astrologists.
It's very interesting. You guys, like, this is so interesting.
Donald Trump is June 14th. He is a Gemini. Boy. All right. He's a Gemini.
Okay. So Geminis, wow, he does not, for me, he does not show this at all. But Geminis are orators. They use their words to their power and often for manipulation. My child is a Gemini. And oh boy.
Well, Gemini usually also is like the twins, right? It has two sides, right? So often.
And so maybe that's where he's showing and demonstrating like, oh, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that.
Maybe. And maybe that's just also, there was an ability for him to be a part of him because for a long time before he turned crazy and tried to, went into politics, people actually liked him. He had, like even when he was doing his show and stuff like that, there was less hate, right? Like there's always been he's
It's a little ridiculous. But
ridiculous. Everybody has called him racist for many, many years. People have said a lot about the misogyny and all of that too. But there was still a likability, right? And I think you're right. There was a particular charisma. It wasn't like a sexy charisma, but there was like a power.
yeah, like there's something to this guy. And if he was in front of you, you would probably talk to him.
Yeah, likely. Maybe. I can't even imagine being in front of that man. Like what would that be like? Weird. But yeah, so maybe that was, part of him. And now we're seeing this because he was a Democrat for a long time.
Really?
Yes, he was a Democrat for a long time. Yes, it was recently that, when right before he went into politics, that he's changed party. Yes.
He really, as a freaking multi-billionaire, he was a Democrat?
He was affiliated with he was, yes, registered as a Democrat. So there's a documentary on Netflix about him and his like previous life, and a lot of his shenanigans and his sort of the strategy was built by his former attorney, who was a crazy conservative, very, very like right, very scary person. And so there was been So a lot of Trump was built on, I can't remember his name,
Okay.
the lawyer's name,
Yeah.
but a lot of Trump's persona and his yeah, his persona essentially, like what he has now become was created by his legal team and led by this lawyer.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's actually a really good documentary, and it shows you and it takes you back to like his younger days, in the real estate industry in New York, and like kind of how this has all happened, and it really takes you into the back story of how this is all orchestrated and planned, and had been being planned for a very long time for him to take this position. Ty put me onto it, and it's been out for years. He put me onto it some years ago, I think when Trump was running the first time, and he was like, "You need to watch this shit so you can understand better who this man is." And I was blown the fuck away.
Wow.
So you should watch that.
I'm definitely gonna look.
Yeah, I'll get you the name. Short, I'll get you the name now. But he's been around for so long. People have, I don't know, like maybe people have a particular trust about him because it's called Trump and American Dream.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. So maybe people have a different trust about him because he's been around.
Well, I mean, just because he's been around in media doesn't mean that much, right?
An American Dream. So it's 2018. When did he run the first time? 2016. So it came out shortly after that. And it kind of revealed the backstory of how he became president.
Yeah, it's not that long. It's just 4 episodes. Interesting.
But it's
That's a
good.
must watch.
And it goes into pretty good detail of the story.
Yeah. I think in terms of this election, there's a lot that is concerning. And the Trump thing about Project 2025, have you heard this? I'm like, no, what? That can't be true. But there's honestly like a really big part of me that's like, we're gonna go through this bullshit again next go around if this man does not go into office. Like,
He can't run again. He's gonna be sick and something's gonna no, there's no way. He's gonna be like 80 something. No way. We're not going through it again. And if she does a good job,
she'll be in for another 4 years.
yes. So she just needs to do a good job. He's 78, dude. He's gonna be 82.
What's the cutoff? I don't think there is a cutoff. He's gonna be 95 running.
I mean, he's not gonna shut up, but hopefully there will be another candidate who, is viable. That's the problem. Is like, where's the candidates? Where are all these people? Like, people showed up at the conventions, right?
Yeah.
And I'm listening to these people speak, and I'm like, why aren't you running for president? Like, who are you, and why aren't you like? Even at the Democratic National Convention, I watched the entire thing, and there are senators, and I know that this is all there's politics behind the politics, right? I know that. But there are some fantastic orators. There are some charismatic people of color. There are some fantastic people who I think probably have some fantastic ideas. And I'm like,
Why aren't you?
why aren't you running? Even like, do you remember Cory Booker?
Mm-mm.
Cory Booker was the mayor of Newark, New Jersey for a long time. He got very, very popular. He ran for president. He didn't, yes, he ran for president. Not Was it last time? I wanna say. He's a senator now, I wanna say. But he was a really I mean, people were talking about him like he was the next Obama.
Right.
Like, they were really talking about him like he was the next Obama, and, like, he spoke at
The Democratic?
he's Democratic.
Yeah.
He turned Newark, New Jersey around.
Well, I think Kamala's only in that position because it was easy, and they would have had to probably refund all of the money that they had raised for Biden if it wasn't her. Yeah.
Likely. Well, I mean, I'm not talking about just now, right? And she is obviously going to be the front runner of all the Democrats who are running in this election because she's vice president, right? Like
Perhaps.
but who else was there? Do you even know a name? I mean, all those weird, there was this well, the two Indian people were on the in the do you remember the two, the Nikki Haley and the other guy? The oh my god, she's a hot mess and he's an even hotter mess.
Oh,
What's his name? Ramaswamy, Vivek Ramaswamy.
okay. Why is he a hot mess?
He's racist too, like super conservative, lots of white adjacency. He was running, well, that was when they were all running to take the
Democratic Party.
uh no, the Republican Party.
I have not heard this man speak, but he seems very charismatic.
Through his 3 pictures. He has some.
You can see, like, there's a picture of his family. Like, you can see the angle that this would be happening.
Yeah, I mean,
There was another woman that I follow, it's like a white woman, who has been trying to run and get into office for a very long time. And every 4 years, she's doing, like, a hoorah rally of, like,
who's that?
I don't remember.
And she's a independent?
Um, she's been trying to be Democratic Party, not independent. Look up white woman. White woman running against Trump for Democratic Party. I don't know.
There's so many. I'm like, who would that be? The one coming up right now is Nikki Haley, which is
Let me see her.
Nikki Haley's the
You said she's an Indian.
she's Indian, but she does not claim her Indianness at all. She's biracial, but she does not claim her Indian side at all.
Interesting.
And
Didn't know she was Indian.
yeah, it's not clear.
With even
Her name.
well, like, yeah, even her name doesn't point to her being Indian at all. But
Yeah, I mean, if that's truly her name, then that's not her fault. But if she's changed her name to make it, more palatable, which a lot of people do, like that's why that Vivek Ramaswamy, like he's a very Indian name, but his politics were very questionable for people of color. People did not like him at all, at all, at all, at all. So yes, I can see that he looks like a little bit more charismatic, and probably is, but um, he was a scary proposition.
interesting.
I mean, these people might all pop up again. We'll have to see. Do you think that because Kamala Harris is a woman of color, a mixed race woman, that she will have more pressure on her to perform?
Absolutely. Don't we always?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. What do you think that's going to look like for her? Do you think she's going to be able to win? And when I say win, I mean like no matter what she does, I feel like there's going to be people are going to have a problem.
Yeah. I think she's going to be crucified. She's going to be literally like on the chopping block, ready to be hung every other day.
Yeah.
Like it's like the whole she's a witch is coming. This is what, like, it's crazy when you live in a world where you can't see being in power or being in the spotlight in any way as a positive for you or what you're standing for, right? Like, I don't see it. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, I think she's going to have a really, really tough time.
Cheer for her. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that she has a support system that can help her withstand what she's about to face. And I would imagine, listen, at the end of the day, she is the vice president, the current vice president. It's not that she doesn't know what is going on behind the scenes. She knows better than all of us, right? So she has to be walking into this with some, yes, knowing of what she is taking on and choosing to take that on because she also knows she's not a white man. She knows that whether she's Indian, black, or everything, she knows that how she looks has something to do with it. I think, it's gonna be interesting. Her husband seems like a really supportive man and somebody that will hopefully give her a lot of, um, comfort and support in going through this, and he seems really likable. So, I think when you have a likable like, dude, is Melania alive? Because, like, where is Melania Trump? I haven't seen her since Trump left office. You forgot he even had a wife, right? Because, like, where is she?
Oh, that's interesting.
Where is she, and why is nobody talking about her? Why is nobody saying, "Where the fuck is your wife, dude?"
Maybe she has disaffiliated with him
But we would
since
know that.
all of it.
We would know that, but we don't know anything.
Bought her out. Maybe she's trapped in a basement somewhere.
Well, she was trapped in her penthouse for a long time and started making videos about how she was trapped.
Yeah.
Like, literally, she was making videos on social media about how
She was trapped by him.
in her Trump Tower, she could not go out by the sources, the powers that be, by whatever. Like, she actually started making videos. This is years ago, while he was president.
Okay, let's look at her TikTok. Where's Melania?
Where's Melania? Where is
Okay, this is like such an interesting episode.
Okay, well, Melania Trump sightings. Melania Trump made a rare public appearance at the Republican National Convention in July, but she remained largely absent from Donald Trump's public endeavors, including most of his current reelection campaign. Her absence was felt during the former president's debate with Biden. Yeah, because she wasn't there. So Trump acknowledged questions about Melania Trump's whereabouts in September 2023 interview with Meet the Press, saying she's a private person, a great person, a very confident person, and she loves our country very much. She'll be at the appropriate time. She'll be out there.
Interesting.
Yeah, like, I don't think that she gets to have a voice. I think she is called upon when there's a need for her to show up. I think that I think, honestly, after Donald Trump dies, we're going to hear a lot of shit come out about how she was treated and, um, what she has had to endure. And I think it's going to be pretty scary.
Yeah.
Like, I feel for that woman. I don't think she can get out. She probably wants out so bad, but I don't think she can get out. So I think she's just been silenced,
Waiting.
and yeah, but it's also like, dude, that's part of the package that people are looking for when they are looking at a president. So if Kamala Harris not having children is a problem, where's your wife? Like, that's not even your kids. Where's your wife at? Some of your kids are dissociating from you, and your kids didn't do a great job, like, doing their jobs either. I know Ivanka Trump fucked up when she was in whatever her role was. People got mad at her, then got mad at her husband. Like, it's a whole shit show.
Yeah. But I don't understand. Again, like, how are people evaluating who they're voting for?
I don't know.
And it's come down to something as simple as, oh, he's for the business owner. I'm like, yeah, for if you make billions of dollars in your business, not if you have a dinky little shop that makes 300,000 a year, right? He's not for you. I'm sorry.
You don't exist to him.
You don't exist to him unless you're making massive amounts of money.
Exactly. And can contribute to him and his cause in some way, right? I think that's why Kamala Harris has taken on the position of, I support small business. Like, she's been very vocal about small business, especially lately in the last few weeks. And she's like, I grew up going to small business in my neighborhood. Like, this is something that's real to me. I understand it. And she's been very, very vocal about small business and some of the policies that she would like to put in place around small business and taxes and so on. So,
For sure.
I think, but yeah, like we were saying, I think no matter what she does, it's going to be really, really hard for her to win. And I think Trump has the advantage that no matter what he does, somehow he's forgiven. and somehow he can still keep going. Like the fact that January 6th happened and that man can still run for president, to me, is a failure of this country. Like that means that there are no rules, there are no real laws. There, like, people in power can literally do anything and they can get away with anything, and we are like at the mercy of them, because if anybody else did that,
We would definitely be paying for it.
paying for it in so many ways, like in all the ways.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, can we talk about Candace Owens?
Yes, we can talk.
What is the fucking deal here?
So I'm new to her. You're new to her too. Yeah. So I'm new to her too.
But like she is I had the chance to like dig into her TikTok feed a little bit, and I cannot believe how overtly anti Kamala she is.
Very. Oh, she's like verbally, like she's
Like,
that's her position.
as a Black woman in America, and actually it was probably her feed that she was like, "Oh, Kamala's not Black,
Yeah, she said she's not black.
she's Hindu."
She said she's not Black, she's Indian, Hindu, whatever, and then she said that on her Jamaican descent side, they're Irish. They're from she's descendant from slave owners, is what she said.
So what oh,
So slave owners, from like the white slave owners, and that her Jamaican side is not Black, it's Irish and something and something. They're just in Jamaica. So then that takes away. So she might be Jamaican, but she's not Black, which is fucked up and not true. What's crazy is that this woman has always said she was Black. She went to Howard University, which is an HBCU. Most people do not choose to go to Howard if they are not Black. I mean, there are a lot of people who go to Howard who are not Black, but yeah, there are a lot of people who go to Howard who are not Black. I have a client whose mother is alumni of Howard, and she's an Indian woman, and this is like 30 years ago, and I thought that was so dope. I'm like, an Indian woman went to Howard 30 years ago, and like, and she actually now teaches at Howard, which I think is also very dope.
let's interview her. That's fun.
Seriously, Candace Owens is very anti-Kamala for a lot of reasons. She doesn't think she's Black enough, or it's listen, I'm not going to disagree with the fact that when it's convenient is not the right word.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I think that it comes out of nowhere. It's like, oh, now that y'all are supporting me, let me embrace my Indian side.
Yeah.
Right? Like this woman showed up to a Diwali party in black.
In a black suit.
You can't do that.
You don't do that.
Diwali lady. Like, come on, like so culturally inappropriate.
It's so culturally inappropriate, and it's also like, you have been pushing that you were raised by this Indian woman for so long, and you grew up very much immersed in the culture and so on. And so when there's a moment that you can connect with people of your culture, and you were raised by an Indian mother, so no one's questioning your Indian ethnicity. Like, nobody's questioning that side. So in that moment where you really had the ability to connect with the South Asian community for, a reason, for a celebration that is actually very, very representative of what you're going through and what your experience is, to show up like that, like she lost me there completely.
Yeah, she could have done better. Like, come on. And yeah, there's just all kinds of words. But regardless, she has shown up in lots of places as, "Oh yeah, I'm that. Oh yeah, I'm that too." And it's a little bit of like ethnicity switching, if that's a word. Like, I'll embrace what makes the most sense in the moment. And she doesn't have a strong like personality around it.
No, she does not. And she's very, and I'm going to say it, like, the fact that her husband is a white Jewish man, again, he seems like a lovely person. He seems like a really warm, loving person. He's probably a fantastic man. So, that's not an issue. But if he was Black, if he was a man of color even, Hispanic, Indian, a man of color, I think it would give her more credibility as because she's so bland. I find her incredibly bland, right? Like she's got, and it's not because she's I mean, I think, dude, like you Jamaican and Indian, where's the spice? Like there's no spice. Not none at all. Like no spice, zero. That's problematic to me. But so because you're so bland, it would be nice to have, some sort of counter to that. I honestly think that her husband is more dynamic than her, and he's a white Jewish man. But because he is a white Jewish man, I think that actually discredits her or discounts her um, blackness, Indianness, woman of colorness a little bit.
Candace is also married to a white man.
She is.
So there's that.
Triple check that because that's what Ty told me, and he was like, Candace Owens' husband. Oh, yeah, yeah. British. George Thomas Stahill Farmer, the son of Lord Farmer.
Lord Farmer. Okay, so he comes from money.
Oh, yeah.
She obviously has loads of money.
Yeah.
Like she dripping.
She's living a very
Very privileged life. And she is
They only got married in 2019 and they have 3 children. How did that happen? They have had 3 children since 2019. It's 2024, dude. That's 3 children in 5 years. I know, that's busy. That's a lot of That's a lot. Yeah, yeah, it's all possible, but damn, that's a lot. His father is a member of parliament. He was the CEO of Parler. I don't know what Parler is. Reports surfaced that Parler was allegedly used to coordinate the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot.
oh what?
It was an app. It was Farmer served as the CEO of Parler, a now inactive conservative social media platform which launched in August 2018 and touted a free speech alternative to other social networks. The app saw a surge in users, including former President Donald Trump, who opposed the moderation tactics of other platforms. After reports surfaced that Parler was allegedly used to coordinate the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot, the app was removed from large streaming platforms, including Apple, Amazon, and Google.
Wow.
In October 2022, it was announced that Kanye West planned to buy the conservative social app. So that is Candace Owens' association with, yeah, that's her husband, and she did have a association for some time with Kanye West. And Kanye, and I know that she gets a lot of her sort of insider celebrity information from Kanye West and a group of other conservative celebrities. She talks about the fact that a lot of celebrities are, in fact, conservatives, but are, not able to share that because they're celebrities and they would be crucified. And so she seems to talk from this perspective of having a knowing that many of us don't, or, information that we don't have access to. So maybe, but how do we ever know that it's true?
Yeah, and even if it's true, like even if there are conservative celebrities,
And
conservative Black celebrities, and yes, of course there are, because it seems to be that like the richer people get, the more exclusive and more conservative they get.
absolutely.
So,
It's like they get siloed.
right. And like to a certain extent, I feel like you have to fit in to that paradigm to be even.
It's like a boys club. It's like a white boys club.
It's usually a white boys club. And the way to join that white boys club is to join forces, to, support internally or overtly. So I think that we can, okay, whatever, like goodbye celebrities. Like nobody gives a shit about your 5 votes or your 500 votes.
Yeah.
But the she's using her platform to very much like kind of shun Black people that are not like you're not really believing the fact that Beyonce showed up for Kamala Harris as a reason to vote for Kamala Harris is kind of her platform.
For sure. And her saying that these people have been essentially assigned a task, and it's not because they
That
support Kamala Harris, it's
Yeah.
because they've been told that this is what they have to do. But then it's kind of like, well, why are they able to show up and take a side if they can't do that on the other side, right? Because the truth is, if you're then not able to be honest about your politics or your point of view and you're a Black conservative, but you're making money off people thinking that you're different than who you are, why don't you have a problem with that? Like, as if she's so opinionated about people being chosen to come and support on the Democratic side, Kamala Harris specifically, well, why aren't you taking issue with the fact that these people have a entire platform and brand that is based on lies because they're selling us a story that's not true?
I feel like there are celebrities that do speak out, and, like, Kanye has been spoken out, and nobody has a problem with it.
Well, people have problem with it.
Well, we could have a personal problem with it. Like, case in point, like, "Yo, you're off my list. Peace out." Like, I'm hitting the ignore button on your dumbass if you're in support of this guy. But if other people don't want to speak out or don't choose to share their politics publicly, you can't, like, I'm I would still venture to guess, and this is a guess, this, like, I don't know shit about shit. Um,
Pretty sure you do. But
Fade my little health bubble.
I do fertility.
But I do think that, um, it is for Beyonce, for example, to publicly support Kamala Harris, even if someone called her up and said, "Hey, you're up. Time to go." Yeah, time to go do that. It still doesn't tell me that it's shady. It's just for me, I'm guessing that she's like, "Okay, well, yeah, I do support Kamala, so sure, yeah, I'll show up."
Yeah, that's how I feel about it too.
Kanye would get that call, he'd be like, "Fuck no, I'm good." Like,
Yeah, he was like, "I'll deal with the consequences." Listen, I think that there definitely is a much bigger power at play that we do not know about as regular ass people in the world. Thank God for being a regular ass person. I will say, like when I was young, I wanted to thought I wanted to be famous and do that whole dude, I am so grateful that that is not my life because I cannot imagine the realities that come with that life that we do not even have any comprehension of. Like, I have seen this little tiny speckle of it just by adjacency, and I'm like, I'm good. But yeah, you would just have to deal with the consequences. And the truth is, these people have enough money and power that they can deal with consequences. Like, a Beyonce can deal with consequences. She can make consequences go away. So she doesn't have to do it. And she gave Kamala Harris her song to use, Freedom, as the theme song for the campaign, which is a big deal because Beyonce does not do that. Beyonce does not do that. So there has to be some, agreement here. There has to be.
yeah, like, no, you're not you're what that lady is talking about doesn't compute. Like, you're not telling me that these celebrities behind the scenes are actually supporting Trump, but overtly have to show up. Like, that doesn't compute.
They're just not showing up. They're just like being quiet behind the scenes and going and casting their vote for Trump or whoever. And we just will never know about it. And that's fine too, because the average person is doing that too. And that's fine too. Have your opinion.
The other point was, oh, bring out the queen, all hail the queen, Beyonce, because she supports Kamala. Now all Black men go vote for Kamala Harris.
That's the thing, right? It's the Black men thing. It's the Black men vote.
Yeah, but again, like, not seeing the traction here just because Beyonce supports her doesn't mean anybody else has to. Right?
In fact, I think it's going to make women show up more, not men.
Hopefully.
Not men, because I don't think that men will be driven by Beyonce for politics. I just don't. I think women will be driven by Beyonce for politics.
Yeah. And hopefully that will be the case and that women will show up to support.
I mean, I am not hearing a whole bunch of anti-Kamala from Black women. I am hearing more about this from Black men. Do you know anything about that? Like, Black women seem to be very much in support of her. What's really interesting to me is that Black women, though, from my experience, outside of very few Black women who work in intercultural, interracial spaces, who are very aware of the language that they use when talking about mixed race people. Outside of that, I find almost all Black women refer to her as a Black woman and don't acknowledge the Indian portion, which I think, a lot of times that is what we do as people. The association that we have. And then Indian people, I don't see claiming her Indianness.
No.
They call her a Black woman too. So,
Or they're saying Black Indian.
or they're saying Black and Indian, but they're not really claiming her as a Indian woman. You think that's going to happen to our kids? One, and two, what do you think that's about?
Well, I feel like she doesn't look Indian overtly.
She does not look Indian to me. She actually doesn't look overtly
I
Black.
feel like her hair is a giveaway, though.
Her hair is flat iron the fuck out. What are you talking about? Where is one curl? I have not seen one damn curl in her head.
No, you haven't. But she still has black hair.
I don't see it. I don't. No. That is like a blowout, and it's a floppy blowout. Like, it's not even a stiff blowout. Like, her hair, I honestly think the texture of her hair is probably not that curly.
Interesting. Well, either way, I think Indians are interesting, right? And unless you're like, I don't even pass as Indian.
I mean, neither do I, but still.
Indians are interesting. Like, unless you're legit from India or you're from India, you brought up here, but you embrace your culture overtly. You go to the temple, you da 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 da. You're not really Indians.
I don't know. Okay, like our little group of friends that are here, right? There's a few Indian women in that group. I find them very Indian. Very Indian. They are so much more Indian than we are. Like, to me. Like, so I don't think it's because you're born in I think it's it's a look, and two, it's an identity.
But it's like I identify as Indian or like Indian American, but in most spaces I would not be Indian enough to be called Indian.
I understand that. What is the difference, do you think? What is the requirement for being Indian enough in an Indian space?
Either you have characteristics that make you overtly Indian. Like you have I feel like there's certain characteristic, and I'm thinking of one of our friends who has beautiful, gorgeous big eyes and like really curly Indian hair. She, to me, like is very Indian just because of the way she presents versus someone who maybe still has an Indian accent. That's another trait that is like, oh, she's Indian, right? If I start talking Indian, then most people will be like, oh, okay, where are you from?
Well, that's different, right? Well, if you're dressed like that and talking like that, that's a whole different conversation for a whole different day, right? Because that's not generally what we are used to seeing with people with accents. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if I agree with that completely, because the accent, I think, is it's a perception, right? Like, you cannot help your accent.
No,
I don't think it makes you more or less Indian. You can't help your accent if you've not grown up somewhere and go somewhere else. Like, I speak 5 languages. There's no way in where I can speak the same way. Like, I spent, 3 weeks in Mexico. I speak Spanish fluently. I'm never going to sound like them.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up there. You know what I mean? So, but I agree. There's particular characteristics for sure.
There's something that triggers the Indian button.
Yeah, outside of the frizzy hair that we talked about one time.
That's like,
It's a way of being. It's a way of being.
and it's probably to a certain extent your conservatism, right? Like how physically conservative you are, how you either are willing to or not willing to talk about certain things.
That your energy, your openness.
Right. Or yeah, but I feel like those characteristics, and then the other set of characteristics, like you speak the language with hopefully your Indian husband, uh, and your kids are Indian, and you all go to the temple, right? Like there are some buckets that
You mean that not everybody's sitting here feeling guilty that they did nothing the last few weeks while all of the different, because like for us Bengali people, we just had Durga Puja, which is the biggest religious holiday of the year, right? And so my parents went to 5 different Durga Pujas in Toronto. I grew up going to Durga Puja. I grew up doing all of that for all my life. And I mean, I wasn't even in the country, so I could not take my children, but I've never taken my children.
Right.
And I feel incredibly guilty, which I was going to ask you, do you want to do the Diwali thing? Because we probably should.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that off the podcast.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there is a huge group of people who are like us, who grew up here, who still carry forward the tradition, the culture, the religion, the customs of it, that do present day to day more Indian, even though they grew up here just like us, they talk just like us.
Yeah, they exactly. And I feel like the difference is they do all the things.
Yeah.
And even if no one knows that you do all the things, there's something about like you are a certain way about things.
Like embody it.
And honestly, like, and we could do a Diwali thing. We were invited to this Diwali dinner tonight, and like I got a text like, "Oh, by the way, we're all dressing in Indian clothes," and I'm almost like, "No, like I cannot." Like, I don't even know where my freaking Indian clothes are, right? Like, am I really gonna unpack all my shit to find Indian clothes to wear? That's stressing me out.
Yeah, that's honestly one of the reasons where I'm like, oh, we can't go anywhere, because I have Indian clothes, like old ones. I can bust out a sari. I have lots of my mom's saris. I don't have any blouses. I probably just wear it with rock a tank top or something. I used to do that back in the day anyway, but my kids don't have any, and people be bringing them stuff from India like 1 or 2 times, but they never wear it, so they outgrow it, and then it's like it just sits there, and I'm like, my mom asked me, she said, that my parents are coming for Christmas. And my mom was like, do you want me to bring a little like ready-made sari for 7? And my first instinct was to be like, what the she's not like to wear when? Like, and then I was like, yes, you know what?
Bring it a size bigger so then she can wear it for Diwali next year.
And I actually do want her to have that, because I want her to have access to the culture. But yeah, like I see, on social media, a bunch of, my friends that I grew up with, or people that I grew up with, and not necessarily friends, but are all doing the things, right? And going to the weddings and going to the things. And there's also an element of being part of an Indian community still, where you still are involved in that I think we maybe feel very detached from, and that shows up in how we interact in the world.
Yes. Yeah. I think that that's part of the problem why Kamala isn't getting claimed as the Indian. Like, she's getting plenty of love,
Wait,
right?
question.
Yeah.
If she was Indian and white, do you think Indian people would claim?
Yes.
Yes. Me too. Me too. I think, yes. I
Yeah,
think it's because she's Indian and black. My instinct is yes too. I think if she was Indian and white and still had the exact same husband,
Forget it if she's Indian and Jewish. She's got the perfect combo for her.
winning out here in the world, every single Indian person would go vote for her, conservative or not. They would be like, she's the one.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that the fact that she's Indian and black has more to do with how Indian people are claiming or not claiming her. I have actually read a few articles about her from Indian publications, because I was very curious to understand the perspective. And, in all fairness, the Indian publications that I follow are a little bit more liberal and a little bit more open-minded, because I cannot read them if they're not. Like, it's very hard. And so there's an open-mindedness for sure there, but I don't think that there's like a full claiming of.
Yeah.
There's still sort of this exploration of, because she's Black. I don't think they'd be exploring shit if she was white. Like, there's nothing to explore. We know whiteness. We were ruled by the British. We love white people. We know all about that shit. So there would be no explanation. But it's like, oh, she's Jamaican. She's Black. She went to a Black college, and she's, identifies as being a Black woman as well as me. Like, that's different for Indian people. There's never been a public figure in this way. There's been a few, but a lot of Indian people don't know that. Like, there's been a few over time, but she's the main and most prominent Blindian ever.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see, because, like, I don't think that people would have I felt it, as much of a hard time if she was Indian and white.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right about that. I think that's very true. On a different note, before we wrap up this segment, Trump is like, I'm a fertility doctor. Fertility and reproductive rights on this continent are under attack
Oh my God.
in a major freaking way.
Scary.
And like, I was just at a conference, I met this amazing advocate for fertility, granted, like, very conventional paradigm, but she has been very vocal, and a lot of fertility doctors are very vocal about the fact that this man, Roe v. Wade, thank you to Trump, essentially. And then the rumor, or like what he originally said, was IVF is like not a good thing. We should just get rid of it. Then he calls himself the IVF. What did he call it? Like, I am the IVF or some shit like that. Like, what are
Sorry.
you talking about? Like, I'm the godfather. I'm the father of IVF. I'm like, you're not a fucking doctor, so I'm confused.
Is it because all his children were conceived through IVF? Because no one wants to have sex?
That what he's talking about?
Maybe nobody want to have sex with him. So I bet you all his children were conceived through IVF. I bet you.
Okay, that makes sense. And then, and then he, like, I watched this interview, and this was the deciding factor for me. I was like, okay, this man's a fucking idiot. Like, you're just an idiot. Any inkling of me like switching sides just went away from this conversation,
Okay.
which was, oh, we can decide what to do with babies after they're born. We shouldn't have abortion rights at all, but we can decide what we do with babies later.
What does that mean?
What?
What? What does that even mean? What do you mean we can decide what we do with babies later?
Infanticide, like, put them up for adoption. I think that's probably what he was talking about, but
I'm sorry. That is not. Wow. Okay. I can't like.
and then he had the nerve to be like, oh, you shouldn't be allowed to abort a child in the third trimester. I'm like, that shit doesn't happen right now. Like, it has never been legal to abort a child in the third trimester. It's not, first of all, it's not even safe health-wise.
It's. I don't even think it's a viable thing to do. Yeah.
Like, by that point, it's a fully formed child.
Yes.
Eh, So many like incorrect things about about medicine, about science, about
Well, if he doesn't believe in science, right? Like, I mean, there's fertility and reproductive rights. There's also climate change on the other side, which is also science, right? Which he also doesn't believe in. So, like, there's nothing happening. It's all made up. I'm sorry. There's a hurricane every single day.
Okay, so explain to me then, like, we know that this is true. Trump has said this in other places. So why the fuck does Elon Musk support Trump? This man who is like, electric vehicles, electric power in the house, let's make sure everyone can get electric. And like, we need to do this for our planet. We also Elon's very interesting. He's also talked about fertility lately, which is very interesting to me. I'm like, why? He has 13 children.
Does he have 13 children?
13 children. And
I did not know that. He has 13 children?
he's making his mark. And with like a lot of different women. Let's just state that.
Hell wants to.
Well, he's charismatic. Uh, I can see the appeal. Right. But he has said like, oh, without essentially like if we don't do something about our problem of the declining population, we're gonna have a really big problem on our hands. So fertility, big issue. So he's very aware of this. And he's also like, oh, we need to like get into space and like figure out what to do next when our possible Earth collapses. So like so many factors that I'm like, how do you support Trump? Like, I'm very confused. Outside of the fact that you're a freaking billionaire, I don't see the logic.
I think it's because he's a billionaire. And listen, at the end of the day, I think they have an insider track that we do not have, right? They have insider relationships, insider incentives, insider information. They have all sorts of things that we just don't have access to and we can never understand, which makes it more scary.
Yeah.
It makes it more scary because you realize that there is very little control that we have, right? We can vote, but we don't even know if that's for real because like that's been fucked with and tampered with too. So you know, it's yeah.
So with that said, please go out and vote.
Please vote. I clearly did not vote for Trump. That's probably evident after this episode. You know, I feel good about voting for her given today's circumstances, given the two choices that we have, given where we are in the world, given the fact that, listen, everybody should be given an opportunity. He's already been given one. He has fucked it up entirely. He is not saying anything positive or good or different. In fact, it feels even more retroactive than it is forward moving this time around. And so, you know, I think it has nothing to do for me with the fact that she's a Blindian woman. It has more to do with, yes, she's a woman. I think the woman part is fantastic. There have been, you know, many countries in the world that are considered third world countries and so on that have elected women into office. Pakistan, India. I mean, just so many.
And they've done fantastic job.
Bangladesh most recently, who didn't do a great job, but
Indian president did an amazing job.
The fact that Pakistan could have a female prime minister is a huge, huge deal.
Yeah.
So I think it's time for us to have a woman as a president. I love the fact that she's Blindian for other reasons. I will reiterate that I wish she was a cooler Blindian, but I'll take it, and let's see what she's able to do. Let's see.
Yep. Awesome. Well, that was fun.
That was fun. That was a good one. All right.
See you next time.
We'll catch you guys next time.